done it again. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Venus and this is my August TBR, and I have made it pretty ambitious, similar to my June TBR. July was a great reading month. I got out of my reading slump, so I'm ready to challenge myself. I've got, I think, 13 books on this list. I probably won't get to them all, but I'd like to have choices. So let's get into it. So if you are new to my channel, first off, welcome. Please hit that like and subscribe button. But I normally do a spin the wheel. I decided this year that there were 22 books on my physical TBR that I wanted to read by the end of this year. So I've been reading 2 per month. Been doing really good so far. There's only been one that I've had to temporarily DNF, which was The Empire of the Vampire. But so far, we're on schedule. So the first thing I like to do in my TBRs is spin the wheel and see which 2 books I am going to prioritize for this month. So let's see. Okay, I forgot to mention there's a couple on this list that I did not feel like reading in August, but I gotta get it over with. So it's, one of them is the 5th season. So oh God, okay. 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. I literally have no idea what this book is about, other than when I was doing a lot of research for fantasy books, this always came up as a favorite, so I just automatically bought it before I knew better. But a lot of people like it. I don't know why I am so intimidated by this book. I'm terrified that it's going to go over my head. I'm not going to understand it. It's not going to make any sense to me, or that I'm just going to hate it and DNF it. So this is going to be interesting. If you read it, let me know in the comments down below, what did you think? But apparently this is going to be on my August TBR, so we'll see how this goes. Fires of Vengeance. Okay, that is a sequel. So The Fires of Vengeance by Evan Winter is a sequel to The Rage of Dragons, which I absolutely loved. I read it last year. It is a fantasy book, and the main character, I think his name was Tal. Yes, so Tal lives in this world where fighting is like just a major part of the world. You're basically trained up to fight. And a small percentage, I can't remember what it is, I don't know if it's 1 out of every, I can't remember, but there's a small percentage of men that are given almost like superpower, superhuman abilities with fighting, and Tao is not one of them. So he decides he is going to injure himself and just get married and live a quiet life outside of all of the fighting. And before that happens, some tragedy happens to his family, and he is on a vengeance mission to get back at the people that hurt his family. And this book centers around a lot of fighting. There is a dragon in it. The magic is pretty cool. I think it's like 1 out of a certain amount of women get this power to call out dragons. So that's another cool part of this book, or the first book. And this is the second one, so I am looking forward to reading it. So I'm excited about this one. So the first book I know I'm going to finish soon is The Empire of Silence. I did start this in July, but I don't think I'm going to finish it by the end of July. So it'll probably be the first book that I finish in August. This is a sci-fi book, and I am really, really enjoying it. It is very dense initially, so it's kind of taken me quite a while to get through it. There's like a huge glossary in the back with all the terminologies for this world, but it's very, very good. Christopher Rocchio's writing style is fantastic. It just really submerges you into this world, and it's very beautiful. It's almost poetic. So I'm I'm enjoying it. It's just taking me a little bit longer to read it than I usually do, but overall, it's great. Hadrian, the main character, is basically telling his story. He has been called the Sun Eater, and I haven't gotten to that part yet. I don't know if it's in the first book or not, or if it spans over. So there's multiple books in this series. I think 4. I'm not sure. And then I think there's pretty sure there's a shorter novella in between this book and the second book about his brother, Crispin. But yeah, so far I'm loving this. So this will be the first book that I finish in the month of August. Next up, I am still working on my trip back to Westeros. I am loving every single second of it. I'm not going to hold these up the whole time. So I am currently rereading Game of Thrones, taking my sweet, sweet time getting through it because I love this world. I love these characters. I love George R.R. Martin's writing style. I just love being back in Westeros, and I'm getting myself prepared for the new series that comes out at the end of August. And I'm rewatching the show because I loved it. I mean, yes, the ending had issues, lots of issues, but I'm still in love with the show too. I'm also slowly making my way through these two. So this is Fire and Blood. This is what the series is based on. And it reads like a history book. So it is very slow goings, but not in a bad way. I personally love learning about the history of Westeros and the world and the dragons and all the things. So I am really, really enjoying it, but it's a slow read for me. I don't even know if I'm gonna get to finish this before the show comes out, but I'm still having a great time. And I'm just taking my time. Like I said, I'm just enjoying being back in Westeros. So I've had this book on my bookshelf, just sitting up there on top looking pretty, and never really probably thought that I would actually read it. I just thought it had really pretty pictures. But surprisingly, it's wonderful. I am loving this book so much. I've had it for like 8 years, and it also has just such a wealth of knowledge about Westeros in the beginning of it and all the families, and I'm loving it. I think I heard that excerpts from this is actually in Fire and Blood as well, so I'll probably get some crossover, but again, just taking my time through this because I honestly think this may be my favorite series, my favorite fantasy series so far that I've read, even though it's not finished. Let's not even go there. But yeah, I love grimdark fantasy. That is my favorite. The next book I want to read in the month of August is Valor by John Gwynne. This is the second book in the Faithful and the Fallen series. I finished Malice in July. I'll talk about it in my July wrap-up, but I loved it. It was fantastic. It is epic fantasy, multiple POVs, which I personally really, really enjoy when done right. And he's doing it right. I love them. Initially, I was confused because there was quite a few of them, but once you get going, it's great. This next book, I am so excited. I'm doing a buddy read with Jordan. I will post her station. I will post her channel below. Great channel. She reads lots of fantasy books and always has wonderful reviews. So I saw that she was reading this in the month of August, and we are going to buddy read Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie. I am so excited to get back into the First Law world. I loved the First Law trilogy. It was definitely a favorite, right up there with Game of Thrones. Why? Because it's grimdark fantasy, and I'm here for it. First Law trilogy, morally great characters, gore, fighting, backstabbing, killing. I love it. I love it all so much. So I'm really looking forward to this. This is actually a standalone in the First Law world before, I think the next trilogy is called The Age of Madness? Or is that one of the book's names? Age of Madness. So yeah, so there's 3 standalones before The Age of Madness, so I definitely wanted to obviously get through these 3. I read the First Law trilogy last year, so I'm hoping that I remember what I need to remember to get through this book. I think there's some side characters from the first trilogy that are in these books. I'm not sure. I have no idea. But, I mean, look at the cover. Yes, I'm here for it. I can't wait. Did I say it's fantasy? It's fantasy. Grimdark fantasy. So I am super excited to read this as well with Jordan. Next up is Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. I am going to finish the Farseer trilogy with Fitz, and I am really hoping that it's not too much of a tearjerker, so we will see. But again, I can't go too much into it. This is the 3rd book in the Farseer trilogy, and it's about Fitz, his life being a royal assassin and a royal bastard, and all of the things that come along with that. And one of the most annoying villains from the last book at the end of it I can't wait to see what happens to him. I really hope something happens to him. So I can't wait to jump back into this world as well. Yeah, so August. And I'm not done. We're still going. So those are all the fantasy books that I definitely want to read, or at least start in the month of August. And in between those, because I know how I am when I read really heavy fantasy books, I like to throw in a thriller or a horror book or a romance just to kind of lighten my brain a little bit. So I've got a couple options that I would like to try to read in the month of August. So the first thriller book that I plan to read for the month of August is Overkill by Sandra Brown. I received an ARC copy of this from NetGalley and the publisher, so thank you for the ARC. But I have started it so far, and I am really enjoying Sandra Brown's writing style. It's definitely keeping my attention. This is the first book that I've read by this author. I feel like I've seen her books all over the place, but I've never read them. So far, what I know about this story, it's a thriller, so I never like to... Sorry, there's like a hair on me. It's a thriller, so I never like to go too much into detail about it. I rarely even read the blurbs, but from what I understand, Zach, the main character, he is a quarterback, NFL quarterback star, and he was married to this woman, and they got divorced. They weren't together very long, but he has power of attorney over her, and she ends up being in like a vegetative state, and from some kind of accident or injury. And so he decides to basically passively give those rights over back to his family or her family, and they keep her alive. And then a state's prosecutor comes to his home and is requesting that he actually use his rights to take her off life support, because the person that is responsible for her injuries is just walking free. So of course, if he takes her off life support, then that person could be convicted as a murderer. So it's interesting. It's very interesting so far. So that's going to be kind of one of my thrillers for August. And Overkill comes out on August 16th. Another NetGalley arc that I plan to read in the month of August, I believe this one comes out on August 30th, is called Suburban Hell by Maureen Kilmer. This is a horror humorous fiction is what I'm seeing it labeled as. And basically it is about this woman who moves out of the city into the suburbs. She becomes friends with all of the wives that are in. She lives in a cul-de-sac with all of the wives in the cul-de-sac. They're part of the PTA. They like have wine nights together. And apparently they're like creating a she shed in, I think her name is Liz, the main character's home. So they're all getting together to help build this she shed for all of them to hang out in. And somehow Liz gets possessed by a demon or something wild. I don't know, but it just sounds like such a fun horror book. I read the synopsis and I was like, oh yeah, that sounds fun. So if it's done right, and if the writing is good, this could be a really funny like horror with some demons and exorcisms probably in it and some mother humor. I don't know, but I will definitely let you guys know how that goes. Another thriller that I want to read in the month of August is called Just Like Home. This book was actually one of my most anticipated books of 2022. It is by Sarah Gailey, and this is about a woman whose father was a serial killer and killed people or buried them in the family home. And she moves out, is living her life, and her mom has asked her to come back and stay in the home for whatever reason, and she does. And the mom is also renting, I believe, a guest house or a room in the house to some artist, and the daughter thinks that he's doing creepy things, or I don't know, creepy things start happening and family secrets start coming out, and it just sounds like a fun time. And I'm waiting for this from my library, and also the audiobook is coming out on Scribd on August 2nd, I believe. So I'm looking forward to that. I have a feeling it's just going to be a quick thriller read. Hopefully it's good, but I will definitely let you guys know. The last two books on my TBR are going to be romances. Well, one of them is like a romance fantasy, historical fantasy. I don't know. It's interesting. So it's called Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater, and it is about a woman who somehow gives her half of her soul to a fairy, or it's taken, and she is basically living her life with half a soul. So she doesn't really feel emotions like normal people do. She's very like, it almost seems like whatever, doesn't really care. and it takes place in the Regency era, which I love, you know, a little historical romance thrown in there. And apparently I don't know anything else about it, but it just sounded really, really cute and whimsical and fluffy and an easy, like, romantic fantasy read. So I'm gonna try to get that in the middle of one of these heavier fantasy books, and hopefully I enjoy it. I think it's a short read too. I think it was only like 200 and some pages, so we'll see. I borrowed that from my library, so hopefully I'll get that at some point in August. The last book that I want to read is also a romance, and that is called The Roughest Draft by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broca. I'm probably messing that up, but I keep hearing this compared to Book Lovers, what Book Lovers, I guess, could have been. I did like Book Lovers, but it had kind of like a sister relationship in it, so it wasn't like fully 100% romance. And apparently this one kind of has the book vibes, where this couple were writing books together, were very, very popular, I think like #1 best-selling books, and then they broke up, and now they have been forced back together to write again. So I'm sure it's like a second chance romance, I'm assuming. But I've seen a lot of good reviews about it. I think it's going to be available from my library pretty soon. So if I do get it in the month of August, I do plan on reading that as well. That's it. That is all the books that I hope to get to in August. We'll see. I don't know. The last time I had this many books on my TBR, it completely bombed. But I have a good mix of choices. So even if I don't get to all of them, I have oh, I forgot one. There's one more. There's one more. I forgot. The It Girl by Ruth Ware. It's another thriller. So I know nothing about this book. I got this from Book of the Month, and I don't know anything about it. But it's a thriller. You know what? I think I talked about this on my most anticipated reads too, because now that I'm looking at the synopsis, it sounds familiar. So it says, April Clark Cliveden was the first person Hannah Jones met at Oxford. Vivacious, bright, occasionally vicious, and the ultimate it girl. She quickly pulled Hannah into her dazzling orbit. Together they cultivated a group of devoted and inseparable friends, Will, Hugh, Ryan, and Emily. During their first term, by the end of the year, April was dead. So, and there's more, but I'm just going to stop there. Yeah, so this is another one. Okay, so that's really it. That's all the books that I'm going to hopefully get to. Again, it's okay if I don't, but I have a nice selection to choose from, and knowing me, something else will randomly pop in that I didn't even list. So this is a tentative TBR. I'm having fun doing them. I think I almost read all of the books from my July TBR except for Game of Thrones, which I said I am slowly getting through that. Not in a rush to get through those because I'm taking my time and absorbing them. So that's all I have for the month of August. This is going to be fun and interesting. Let me know what you are reading below. And have you read any of these books that I've talked about? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, thank you so much for stopping by. I look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Please hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you again. See ya.